Hi everyone, hi literature fans and everyone alike. Thank you for joining us for yet another episode of the Waithera Project podcast. This time we are discussing the book Purple Hibiscus by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. She's a Nigerian writer. I think she's one of the most prominent writers of our time and in the continent. I think actually around the world. Joined by the guys, the fellows.
Hello.
Hi. The lady. Please introduce yourselves.
Alex.
I am AC.
Okay, we'll just get into it. So I think Purple Hibiscus is one of the most prominent books ever, and this will be the 21st year since it was published, and I think it's amazing how the themes and some of the topics that Chimamanda was discussing then are still very relevant today. But by the way, the story is told from Kambili's perspective.
Yes.
She's the 15-year-old daughter of Papa Eugene and Mama. And they're coming home from Palm Sunday when Papa discovers Jaja did not take communion.
Chaos.
And all hell falls loose.
Yes.
So I think the funny thing is I read this book like as an adult, and that was the first time I was hearing the name etagere. I did not know ni kabati.
It is.
It's a kabat, the one that the lady put the figurines in. So
I
when
just thought
Papa
it was like a
throws
shelf.
it's a shelf. Yeah, it's an
Yeah.
open shelf.
Yeah.
So when Papa throws the missile at Jaja,
It misses.
it misses and it breaks something in that home. I think that's
There's
the
the
thing.
figurines.
The figurines.
Mother's
The
The
figurines.
mom
mothers.
really loves those figurines.
Yes.
What do you guys think about
It's a
that?
very chaotic day in that house. I think I can relate to Jaja because there was a time I told my dad, Catholicism is not for me. And the reaction was not similar, but the anger was same was up. Yeah. So it spoke to me. Yes, that scene spoke to me.
I think it's the controlling aspect, the authoritarian aspect of the father wants you to do exactly as he wants you to do it. And like you remember in school, like the principal, that's the sort of thing. Let's say tells you go to class and you say, I don't want to go to class. You slapped immediately. So I think it's the Eugene could not believe that
His son
this boy
defied
who
him.
has listened to me all his life all of a sudden I think it must have shocked him, because it's like this must be a demon, right? Because he's never talked back. He's never talked back to me. He's never not done what I said, and then all of a sudden
Yes.
he just talks back. I think even in your everyday life you might come across a situation where you're used to things going this
Your
way, this
way.
way, this way, this way, where it's almost like a habit, and then one day it's like no.
I think one thing that's really, I think that scene sets the pace of the book, and then you just discover what you're going to deal with in terms of characters here. Because we discover that first things first, Papa Eugene is no nonsense.
Yo.
That man, I don't know if I've ever seen him express joy in the entire book.
He rewards his children with affection. It's not something that's it's conditional. His affection is conditional based on if you do what I say when I say how I say it, then I love you. You're
Which
my
makes-
children. I'm proud of you.
Which makes Kambili, it really makes her like a people's pleaser, because she's always
Trying to-
pining for this
yes.
affection, and she's never getting it. I think Jaja just gave up at some point.
And
He tried, but I think compared to
think-
Kambili, I think Jaja is.
I think Jaja took the opportunity they had to grow, and he did. But Kambili was still like, maybe there was a part of her father that loved her.
I think one of the people I really feel bad for in this book is their mom.
Oh yeah, Stockholm syndrome at its
'Cause
best.
she was I don't know if she's
Beatrice.
named Beatrice. Yeah, she's named in the book. So there's two people. There's Mama and Papa Eugene, and then they have 2 kids, Jaja and Kambili. And all this time, they've been 2 kids, but it's almost like they've been 3 kids, because when Papa Eugene is angry, no one is spared, you know?
Yes.
It's all of you, from your mother down to the last born, who receive all this acts of violence and abuse. And I think it's very interesting because they are rich. They are very wealthy, you know? Their dad is a big fish.
Yeah, considering
Very
he
wealthy
has a
man.
very successful company. They make the wafers and the juices and all these things.
And he's the editor to a local paper.
Yeah, so even when Kambili is describing where they live, even when they go to their place where they've built, they have, I think, 2 extra floors where they do not use just in the house.
Yeah.
It's,
And it's in their like rural home.
Yeah, their Ushago
it
house.
just shows
Yes.
he had more
Vacation
than
homes.
enough.
They do.
And then that is when we truly discover about Eugene's character, because he lives in a mansion while his father does not have anything to eat.
Oh man.
Only
But-
because he does not conform to his way of life.
His father, Papa Nuku,
Yes.
he's a heathen, according to Papa Eugene.
Yes.
So I think it's the same thing. He rewards people with affection when they do the things he wants them to do. So because his father refuses to join Catholicism and like travel
To
the
follow the
path
white
of
man.
of missionaries and Christianity, Papa Eugene refuses to give that man a shilling, you know?
Although
Because
No, he does give him money,
once
but
in a while,
he
but
does-
it's not like he's taking care of his dad.
He does not.
It's like it's
He
called
does not.
breadcrumbing. It's just
And he offers him he offers that he will build him a home and give him everything only
if
Only
he
if-
becomes
if he converts.
a Christian.
which
Which is also a source of conflict between him and his sister, Mama Ifoma.
Auntie Ifoma.
Yeah, Auntie Ifoma.
On that point, still, I think you come to see that no matter how different Papa Nuku and Papa Eugene are, they are literally the same person. Because Papa Eugene will not move from Catholicism.
Yeah.
His father will not move from the traditional ways.
yeah.
But I also think
If Oma is the moderate
Yeah,
one.
she's there.
She's the
doing
one
the Lord's work.
who
Yeah.
sees both
Yes.
sides, and she's trying to bridge that. There's a time where Kambili asks her, she's like, should we do this for a pagan? And then she's like, he's not a pagan. He's a traditionalist. The same way we do the Eucharist and everything. It's the same way he prays. It's a mirror in height. He's like, that's basically his way of worship, the same way you do this. So you can see she's trying to teach Kambili that just because he sees things in a different way, at the end of the day you're almost doing the same thing, both of you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I think when the book has been set now, we understand it's one family, a wealthy family. They live in the leafy suburbs. The father is abusive and they are very sheltered. I think they are driven to school.
yes.
They don't really have
They go to
access-
private
They
schools.
go to private school, so they don't really have an access to what the world really is like. So when we go to the second bit of the like kind of the second chapter of the book, that's when we start to see the things are changing, right?
Yes.
That's when they
And
first go
bubbles.
to see
Suka.
Papa Nuku. When they go to see Auntie Fioma
Yes.
the first time.
Yes.
That's when they are at their rural home. She comes to visit, and then she says they're going to see
Their
Papa
grand-
Nuku.
Oh, yeah.
And then she says she wants to take them to her place for a week, so
Or
they can go to the
Akpe
the
something.
pilgrimage. There's a where they say the
The
the Virgin will
traditional
appear, but he tells Eugene tells her, if you pass by the, what's it called, that thing where the Mua something like that, close your eyes. And I think that's when they start getting exposed to Auntie Fioma is the one who starts exposing them to different things. And obviously Eugene He's not a happy man.
Yeah, even the first time when he says he wants to take the children to see the other side of life, the father is very adamant. He's like,
No.
I think
Don't
it
do
even
that.
shows in the way that he also does with the school and everything, that Kambili cannot even stay behind for a few minutes to mingle with the other
Yeah, she doesn't
girls.
even have
She has to
co-curricular
run home,
activities.
run to the gate immediately, and go to the car. She's not given a few minutes to interact with. Because funny thing, when you look at it, even the setting of it, Jaja has no friends. Kambili has no friends.
they live home,
They do
school,
not. They don't even
church.
mention.
They are each other's friends.
They don't mention any time. You at least even if they're not in the picture, like in the action,
Yeah,
they could say like my friend,
nothing.
my friend from. They have no friends anywhere.
Now the aunt has won over. Auntie Fioma has won over. Papa Eugene's. She hasn't really won over. She's just
She
convinced
just won
him.
the argument.
Yeah. And the kids get to visit her where she lives in Suka.
And oh my god, is she poor? I literally smelled the stove reading the book.
No, I remember when the first time Kambili had to help Amaka to like make vegetables, and she was like, "The ghetto."
And
She
funny
can't peel
thing,
cassava.
it's not that she's poor. She's relatively poor compared to
To Eugene.
Eugene, because she's a university lecturer.
She is.
They live in whatever the university housing, but you can tell it's not what you would say poverty, because they have sacks of rice, They eat meat even if it's not
Their
a lot. They
grandfather
have
is the
small
poor.
pieces. If you just look
that
at
man is
their
poor.
relativity, they're just poor because we are looking at it from Kambili's point of view. If it was like from Amaka's point of view, it's more of like
have
amongst the other people,
Yeah.
they have enough, because even the problem that she has, the main problem, her car does not have fuel because the fuel has not come. It's not
They're
because
the
she cannot
African
afford
version
fuel.
of middle class.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think, but to Kambili, that's like,
Poverty.
The ghetto.
yeah, it's like you saw that the meme they use in Squid Game. If anybody saw Kambili there, it's like, why are you here? I thought you were financially stable.
Yeah, and then we see the shift in perspective that the kids face. I think in the beginning, we see the difference between the two kids when they actually start visiting, when they go to Auntie Fioma's house.
Yeah.
And we see Jaja, it's like he has been yearning to get a different sense of life from what he lives.
Yes.
While Kambili is more,
Dad would disapprove. He
like
would not
you
like.
guys. No, and the first time, and Amaka knew.
Yeah. Oh my
Amaka knew that Kambili was feeling shy. I don't know, she was like reserved.
Yes. She sneered.
She did.
I think Amaka is the cousin we all want to like us, and then Kambili does not have the words to like have a conversation with her.
She has nothing. They have
She has
nothing to
nothing.
relate about.
And I think partly it's because she never developed communication skills, in the sense
Yes.
that who does she talk to?
The father does
It's
not
just the
allow
brother.
for
It's like,
conversation.
it's even at the in the beginning when they're at the dinner table, there are words that they're supposed to say, because you say, this is what we usually said. The juice is nice, Papa.
Control.
There's
Eugene
no
is
there's
like
no
that.
sort of like I feel like it's a bit, because in comparison there's what was it that Amaka was having, and then she said it's too sweet when they were at Kambili's place.
Yes.
Oh, at Christmas.
Then the father looked at her.
Kambili almost died.
It's like, you're not supposed to have an opinion.
Yes,
That's
should-
literally.
You're supposed to just say, this script I've given you, 5 words you should say. Do not speak anything else.
Yes, and
I
praise
think
God.
Amaka is a representation of generally Kambili's life
Yeah.
outside of her home.
Yeah.
Amaka is not just her cousin, she's every female that Kambili has never gotten to talk to.
Yes.
It is every friend in school that Kambili has never gotten a chance to talk to because she has to run. So this is how she relates with other female people her age.
Yeah.
She doesn't know what to say.
I know.
She's floating
tragic.
in nonsense. She's just
Yeah. And I think she's surprised at how fast Jaja is able to adapt.
To adapt to the new environment.
he's there doing the most trimming hedges.
Washing cars.
It's almost he was born in that house.
Yeah.
Well, she's still like, she doesn't know what to do every single second of every day. it's like, what do I do? She's always confused, always knows. And then I think it reaches a point where Amaka sort of now starts to understand, because there's a time Father Amadi offers to take her to play. She doesn't have any shorts or anything, because obviously she's not Father
Where?
Eugene. She's not going to get any
Where
shorts or
for who?
trousers. So she borrows from I think Auntie Fuema says Amadi can help her. Generally when she's given, she says Amadi did not make any comment or say anything. It's almost in an understanding way. It's like,
You didn't have to ask.
when mshamba.
I think
Nakwenda.
the best thing Amaka did for Kambili was introduce her to Father Amadi.
Right?
And then we see Kambili have her Fleabag moment. Yani, it's like she was in a glass case, but it broke the moment she met Father Amadi. It's like she discovered she could be social. I think she actually discovered she's sexual too.
I think
Because
that's also
she
when you
remember, like,
realize
staring
that
at the
the
father's
two,
thighs.
Kambili starts to realize the differences between her and Jaja. Like Jaja is growing more masculine, alafu yako tu hapo.
Yeah.
And I think also what she sees is, in her mind, she knew priests or church leaders, the archetype created was Benedict,
Yes.
right? They could not have any other characteristics outside, because there's a time when Father Amadi is running, and when he comes, before even he takes her to the field, he comes and he's wearing a short. So he's like,
Kambili almost
how is a man of God wearing a short?
died at the thighs. She was
She
just
was
staring.
feeling hot.
I know.
The blood was running hot.
She really was.
So in her
Oh, poor
mind, she's
girl.
like, why are you so different from how fathers are supposed to be? And I think now she starts to think. I'm sure maybe in her mind she's like, Amadi might not be the only father who's different than what.
Yeah.
I think Amadi
Eugene
was
has told her.
introduced early in the book when Kambili was explaining how her father did not like
Yeah.
other Pentecostal churches that sing during service. And then he was like the father that came and he was breaking into Igbo songs. So that was Amadi, because Kambili
Yes.
remembered him. And then now we can see she has to deal with the fact that her father does not approve of this.
Yeah.
The priestly father.
He doesn't approve of the Africanization of Christianity.
Yes.
She I think it's also a colonial mindset, because the Papa Eugene believes that
You have to
this
be white.
father,
You have
the
to be
father
white
has
to
to
know
be
God.
white, to know God. And even when we see the way he relates to religion, it's that kind of Roman Empire conquering kind of like brutalness that this African man. What do you know?
There's also something Amadi does when he likes to even play with the boys.
Yeah.
Then he says he sees Jesus in their faces. Camille thinks, how can you see Jesus? And Jesus is supposed to
Is
be
that white?
He's blonde with blue eyes. But Amadi's like, I see Jesus in these boys' faces. So in her mind, he's like, okay, Papa would
He would hate
he would
you.
hate you for saying that you see Jesus in a black person's
black
face.
person.
So I think what you've said, that Amadi sort of opens up Kambili's worldview. Even though still she's very scared, I'm sure she has the same emotions as Jaja, but I think also being a female maybe and everything, standing up, and also the adoration of the father, because there's the relationships between, this is the guy who's protected you your whole life, this is the guy who's everything to you, even if he's a tyrant. At the end of the day, what else is there? What other option is there, as opposed to Jaja, who's like, I am a man, you might be a tyrant, let me live.
Yeah.
But maybe Kambili's just the way she thinks, it's like he's a tyrant and everything, but he's all I have.
Yeah.
He's all, and maybe Amadi now opens that gate for.
You can feel
Amadi
other things.
opens gates everywhere. And
No?
and I think it's very funny because it wasn't even her aunt, because they are like both women, or like her Amaka. It took a figure that's close to someone she relates something else with to make her see, because religion is still the core factor in this book. So for her, it took because her father used to equate his violence with religion. It used to
Yes.
like come from a point of religion, you don't
Avoid
obey
hellfire.
authority. Yeah,
Do not walk into sin.
yes. So when Kambili sees a priest who is this other direction from what she's like, kumbe I can relate to God,
Yes.
this is fascinating. And then we see Papa Nuku gets sick.
Yo.
He becomes really sick, and then
Auntie.
Auntie Fioma goes and collects her father, and she brings him to her house.
And yo,
My
Kambili is
goodness.
distraught.
She is.
But I like these little thoughts that she has, which all of us usually have those thoughts, where she starts to think, where is he going to sleep? She starts doing the math in her
Yeah.
head. It's like it's not the
It's
living
bad
room.
enough.
The living room, they're the boys.
Is in the house, but
The
who
bedroom
is going
has
to
this.
sleep with him?
So in her mind, she's already trying to think, I'm already uncomfortable, but I am adding this other person.
Who
it's
is a
just-
heathen?
It's like I think it's like the math she does. It's like, imagine when you go to a place you've never been before, and then you hear the toilets are like somewhere in a area where you have to pass through all these different people. In your mind, you're always thinking,
Everyone will see me
which
walking
way
towards
shall
that
I
place.
use? Yeah. So in her mind, she's doing all those calculations. It's like, wow, this is going to be tough. Yeah.
And then for her, I think that's also a contrast, because if they were in her house, she would never have to worry. There's like guest rooms everywhere. But now Auntie Fema's house is not that big, so she's like, the math is not mathing, my
She
friend.
has refused.
So the heathen comes to the house, and I think that's when the contrast between these two kids is very evident, because at this point, I think Jaja
Does not care at
he
all.
does not. I think
At
he has already
all.
adapted to this life. In fact, if
He's
he
happy. He's blooming.
He's blossoming in that space.
Yeah.
I think if he was left there, he would have been very happy, And we see, because he's really sick, he has to be like taken out in the morning to like stay in the sun. And then he does the traditional prayers in the morning, and then the kids, Kambili's like, this is.
I think that is when she
Similar
actually
kidogo,
understood that religion is not Catholicism.
Yes.
Because to his father, if you're not Catholic, you're not religious at all. It does not matter whether you're Pentecostal or traditionalist. If you're not Catholic, it does not count.
And I think one thing that she also sees different is when he's praying, he prays for even Eugene,
Yeah, everyone. All
as
his
in even
kids.
for his health, for his
the
wealth,
children,
for the children. So he's like,
family.
the only time my father prays about Papa Nuku
It's
is for his
Soul from
salvation.
hellfire.
No, he doesn't talk about the hell or anything else. It's just so in her mind she's like,
Converting.
okay, this guy is praying from a point of care, in the sense that
of love
of
and
love and
fatherly
everything.
love.
as in guide. Yeah, there's a part he says that to also, which is also funny, with Nuku also says the same prayer for save Eugene from the witchcraft that they've done on him, meaning it's the missionaries.
White people.
So they also have that in common, that they are praying for each other to see the light.
But the grandfather also explains why he does not like Christianity, Catholicism, because according to Eugene, according to the priest, the father and the son are equal,
Oh,
and that
yeah,
is
yeah.
why Eugene thinks he can
Talk
He
to
can
them.
talk back to
to-
his father. And to Papa Nuku, that is like an abomination.
Yeah.
So
Like, how dare you not
how dare you?
respect
Fu-
authority?
funny-
This
funny
religion
thing
is
though.
mad.
Funny thing though, when you say that, traditionalists believe the father is at the top, right?
Yes.
Now Eugene is where he's like, he threw the things at Jaja for questioning him.
Yeah.
Yet
Yes.
father and
Yes.
son are
Are supposed to be equal. In a sense,
so he acts very traditional.
Yeah.
He's very selective with how
He uses
religion
the
applies
religion.
to his
Because
house.
he's very, very, what would you say, traditionalist, and sort of, I've said it and this is it.
Yes.
There's no questioning of anything I say.
Yes.
Yeah, and then when you see how Jaja, I think he falls out of love with religion completely, and everything just based on seeing the way his father deals with his mother, because you can see that's an issue he has until the end.
Oh yeah.
Wishing he could do more.
yeah.
Yes.
Wishing, because even he asks a question, why I think he asks a question, why did he let? I think it's like the question of suffering. Why did God let that happen or something? So you can see that affects, and it's obviously an influence of the father not being able to show love.
Any
So
sort of
when-
affection.
So when
That man
Jaja is
has
told
the
God is
emotional
love, it's
range
like
one instant.
that pouring boiling water on my feet. That is not love.
Oh my god!
We haven't even
that
got
was
to that
nasty.
point yet. Yeah.
I think Jaja was very indifferent with his father from the start. It's just that like we never saw like many opportunities before Palm Sunday.
I think that
because
was
when the
thing.
mom was pregnant the first time, Jaja told Kambili, "We will protect him,"
Yeah.
and Kambili knew instinctively he meant protect him
from
from
the
the father. Oh, that's a fucked up way to raise
Yeah,
up
I
children.
think Jaja had grown some sort of resentment and rebellion.
Yes.
And the first time we actually saw the act of rebellion was when he refused to take communion.
And that was like the biggest thing for his father.
Yes,
Religion
and
is
it
the
was very
biggest
terrible
thing.
because the audacity of this
How
boy.
dare you?
Yeah. So I think now that they're in Nsuka and they're living actually with Papa Nuku, they start seeing him as their grandfather, and it's sad because he's on his deathbed, and they never actually got to like visit him when he was healthier, because Papa Eugene kept them away from him because heathen. So by the time they're actually relating and seeing, oh my God, he's not like a sinner who will burn in hell and all these things, he's actually a father,
Yes.
and by the time they start like seeing he could be like this grandfather, and then I think we see the points of jealousy kidogo, because the anti-famous kids have a relationship with
A
Papa
very
Nuku.
good one. in
Yeah,
fact.
and then they don't,
Yeah, they're very
but we're Nairobi.
to easily put it that way. Like even when she says how around the dinner table, everybody is so free. People talk back,
like they
they
talk.
argue, and then Auntie Foma is just looking at them smiling. I guess she smiles at the freedom,
Proud.
and because there's one thing she contrasts with Obiora. Obiora, he's 14, which means that I think at that time he's younger than her. He talks in a very even if you look at the way he asks the questions, it's not something 14-year-olds usually ask.
Yes.
He's speaking about concepts that Kambili has never come across, meaning that he has been encouraged and exposed to do more work, question things like that. And I think it just shows, despite all the riches and the wealth that they have, the household they grew up in is lacking in, I guess, intellectual
Literally
rigorism
everything.
and everything else.
They have TV, they have cassette players.
But they
Amanda
don't
wonders,
play them.
how do you have satellite TV and you don't watch CNN?
Nothing.
You don't have cassette player in your room. I thought you were rich.
So I think that's also the other thing that we come to see. The kids, Papa Eugene's kids he is wealthy, but his kids lack
Yes.
direly.
Direly.
And then we see the contracts with Auntie Fioma's kids. She's not wealthy, but her kids are okay. They never lack. If you dropped Kambili and Amaka in a random market, Amaka would survive. Kambili could not.
She
Kambili
will
will
die. Smithereens.
So
Hey.
it's very crazy. Then we see when, sadly, Papa Nuku now dies. And it's sad because the kids had just started seeing him
Develop
as
a
a human
relationship.
being and as their grandfather and all that. But then, plot convenience.
God loves.
Yeah. He left. So when he dies, he died inside the house. So because Eugene is a control freak, he used to call the kids, I think every day or like every week, I don't remember.
Every day in the morning.
Yeah, so they would just have these check-ins. So the kids knew that they could not tell him that man had died inside the house, and they had lived in that house when there was a dead
And they had not
body.
told him the grandfather was around
did not tell
for the
him.
entire week. Yo. Oh,
So when
sucks
he found out, he came to collect the kids. And when he got home, he poured boiling water on their feet
because they were walking
because
into
they
sin.
walked into sin. And I remember, my God, I
anger.
was so angry.
The anger.
I was angry that day. I remember, guy, I was mad. I had to close the book.
Tears.
Because I was like,
if you-
How dare he?
the audacity.
I mean, you know, the most very screwed up thing about Eugene, every time he was violent and abusive towards his family, he would cry. Like, he would be sorry. The fuck are you sorry for? You're like hurting them on
Psychopathic behavior.
it's like he's weeping because of the sin, not because he's hurt his family. It's the sin. It's like, how could you sin? He weeps because you've sinned.
And I remember the mom when she was like taking care of their feet after they had been burnt. When I think she was just there saying like, enough. And I remember the thing that stood out for me in that entire scenario and stuff. Jaja did not cry.
We didn't even know he had his feet had been scalded too.
Yeah.
We
He didn't talk
knew
about
the
it,
following
didn't-
day.
Like, what is that level of numbness? Like the abuse he had seen for so long.
When they're at their auntie's
There was-
house, we discovered that I don't know what his father did to his pinky, but it was like small and shriveled. So like, think Jaja at this point was just like
I think
I'm used
another
to
one
it.
to survive.
Eh,
Used to the
so
pain.
I think when we see that this man had abused the kids for so long, until the firstborn, when they had, like, he was exposed to such a level of pain, and I think he felt it, but he reacted. It's like when we got used to being beaten in primary school.
Yeah.
And you just do this, and there are kids who would not cry. It was like the teacher would just
They
drop
used to
1, 2, 3, and they'll just be there. And
Yo.
I felt bad for Jaja because I felt like this man had stolen his soul. Over years, he
Yes.
had destroyed this kid's will to
Every
live.
day. I think Eugene expected perfection of his children, and that is unachievable. So to him, his children will always be short
They're
of.
falling short.
When in the beginning of the book, when Papa Eugene throws the book at Jaja and it breaks the etagere and the figurines, we try to see Mama fixing, like trying to clean the figurines again. And I think that's what she'd try to do all the time. This man would break her and the kids, and then she'd be just there with like a thing trying to fix things.
Yo.
Until she got to a point she was like, yo!
That's it. I'm done.
So she poisons her husband.
Gradually.
Yeah.
And it's funny because this when I first read when he says they used to have the love sips. At first I thought it's like you tell your kid come sip my coffee, the other one. But I'm sure Eugene, even in so much you can call it a love sip. Maybe, I think even in conventional conversations, you hear people say that when they get home, they don't first take the food that their wife gives them. They ask the kid to come and taste. Because
Eugene knew he was a horrible man,
because
and he was paying for his sins.
and then you call it love sips in a way. Whatever Chimamanda was, I'm sure maybe that could have been on her
Trying to
mind,
put across.
because it could have been just a love sip anyway. But for somebody to say that you come take a sip of my every single time, in the back of your mind you start to think, is he doing it because of the love or because he's scared that
He's testing the water.
I could be poisoned?
I also think that highlights the relationship Kambili and Jaja have with their father, because according to Kambili, getting burnt by the tea is a sign of affection.
Even though it's hot.
Eugene failed. He failed
Actually,
so
it was
hard.
terrible. I hated that man the entire book.
There's something about Eugene which I saw as from the family side, he's a very good guy, as in away from the family.
Oh, outside looking
yeah.
in.
Outside,
Outside looking
loves
in.
him.
as in,
He even has a title, Omelora.
as in take Eugene and say Eugene lived as a single man with no family. You'd say he's a champion, because every other act he does is very noble, and he's not doing it pretentiously in
Even
the
when
sense
they're
that
doing the
Actually,
charity
he was.
things.
He was doing it pretentiously because,
Of course, he had an image.
No,
to
yeah, it was a
maintain.
charade.
after he
a
dies,
facade.
they find out that he used to make anonymous donations to
cares?
charities. So I understand, but when you look at him as in what he feels as the cause, even to the point he made a lot of anonymous donations to charities. He was doing it because it's the right thing to do.
Was he repenting when he beats his children?
No, I'm not-
because
I'm not-
he sends the donation.
the
to-
guilt.
No,
to
I'm
appease
saying
his soul.
take the family side out of Eugene, right? Take Eugene as the philanthropist, or Eugene as the guy who's helping people, right? Or the guy who's editor of the Standard, you know,
It
because
was really
calling
hard to
out
see him in
the
the street
government,
lights.
that has nothing to do with the family, right? calling out the government and everything.
Let me tell you, I absolutely refuse to believe
Eugene
was
is a good man. Absolutely.
Because I really think, you know how I think we see this script with abusive partners. They beat you today and then they buy you flowers in the morning.
Yes.
I think when Eugene used to send those anonymous donations, he used to send them after he's done something tragic in his household.
Yes.
He beat his wife twice.
And
so
she-
bad
she
she
lost
lost kids.
Yeah.
Twice.
Yeah. I'm saying separating the family. Now take Eugene as a guy who never got married.
He's still
Take-
horrible.
No, I'm just saying that. I'm just this is
You
sort
can't
of we're playing with
convince
this.
me,
Take Eugene as a guy who never got married. All he did was now these other things, right?
You see, if he was not
As in, you
abusing
see-
his
you
family,
see-
he was doing it somewhere else.
I think so too.
We have no
It was going
you know,
somewhere.
of somebody him abusing anybody. So I'm just saying the acts he did outside, like to run an editorial paper, and then you're basically putting yourself in danger in a way, right? Because he could have been killed by the government at that
That
time.
man is a narcissist.
No, I'm
He's
saying-
not a good man.
I'm
Eugene
talking-
is like America. Looking like from the outside, looking in, it's great, it's big, it's wealthy. But on the inside, my God, kill me now.
Yeah, what I'm saying about is Eugene, take out the family from Eugene as a guy who does not get married, and that's the only side of him we know. We never told about anything else, right?
Let me tell you, he's still a terrible man. You know why?
He's a control freak.
No, apart from his family, if I remove the role of husband and father,
Yeah.
he's still a terrible son
I
to
know.
his father.
To his father.
He's
He's
a
a
horrible
terrible
brother.
brother to Auntie Fiona.
Yo.
Ifeoma, he's not that.
That man that has
horrible to
no
Ifeoma.
redeeming
He's not horrible to
qualities.
Ifeoma.
He's not horrible with Ifeoma because Ifeoma does not let him. She does not give him.
But he's
the
very
space,
condescending.
you know. So I think even when we see the way he relishes in the title that people give him, he loves being propped up.
And then he's like,
He
oh,
would
be
have
modest.
found a way
Be
to
modest.
exercise power on some other people. If it was not his family, it should have been like
The poor
his
people at
staff.
church.
Yeah.
You think he would have found a way to?
That
Exert
man
his
is the
influence.
worst.
Yeah.
Scum of the earth.
Okay, you know why I'm saying that? I was talking because the last time we were talking about people with redeemable qualities, right? We were talking about Madume in the other one. who
Madume
had
is so
no-
much better.
Who had no redeemable qualities at all.
Words I never thought I'd ever say. Yo,
Because
hey.
Madume used to beat his wife also, right? He had no in the sense that he did not help anybody.
Yeah, he was a
Right?
very selfish man.
narcissistic and everything else.
But
right?
he stood for something,
with no
you know.
redeemable quality. Eugene, his redeemable quality
What
is he stands for.
What is it?
Like, let's say for example, he's what you'd say call he's what's the term for it? Standing up for truth in the sense of that's what he believes to be true.
He's a religious fanatic.
No, not the religious aspect.
You know,
when
Eugene
it comes to the
believed-
government, right? When it comes to the government, he's the last newspaper.
Yes, because
He's the last
he believed
stand
God
for,
will save Nigeria.
He's the last stand for truth in the political sense.
When we see from that angle,
Yeah.
when we see the university breaking up, like things just going south, and Auntie Fiona loses her job and she has to like pack her things and move to America.
Yeah.
It is almost the same thing that we're seeing, that things are breaking apart in his household.
Yeah.
You know, this man, he doesn't stand for something, because why are you beating things out there and then practicing them in your house? You're saying oppression is terrible, you know,
And then in
the
your
government
house, oppress
who matter, and then
he's
your
a tyrant
house
in
is
his
a
house.
mini representation
Of
of
the
the
country,
happening
yeah.
outside.
Yeah, I get that, and that's why I'm saying taking the household out, and this is I'm talking about the context of Eugene as an editor, right? Eugene as an editor.
I don't
he's a very
still
good.
believe
He's a very good.
I still
good-
don't
good-
believe in his
As
purpose
in,
because
has he done well for the country as an editor?
no.
Has he?
Does he?
Yeah.
Has he?
As in
Has
taking
he?
taking out the aspect of being violent at home, right? Him as an editor, what he has started as his company, has
I
it
think
done
he
good
does.
for the country?
Maybe yes. I think I get
That's
the
what that's
point.
that's what I'm looking at.
From
it that
one
way.
aspect. Is that like the time their mom loses the
No,
child?
Kambili is beaten by her father because she has the painting of her father, of her grandfather from Amaka. And when the father sees it, he tears it to pieces. And Kambili is not
trying to
having it, not
put it
today,
together.
Satan. So when she's like cradling the pieces at her father's feet, the father is livid. So like he starts kicking her. Apparently the shoes, like sleeping slippers have metallic something.
Theirs are for rich people.
Oh yeah, the rich boots, rich sleeping boots, and like I think he beats her, he kicks her into unconsciousness.
Oh, she goes to the
then,
hospital.
yes, and then that's when we realize just how money buys everything, because not even the doctor says you're seriously ill. You're not beaten, you are seriously ill. She takes her exams in the hospital. Yeah.
I think that's the time that Mama starts to see the
This is
abuse she has endured is
It's passing-
trickling
yes.
down to her child. And I think that's the time she's like, it has to stop with me, you know?
Yeah.
I have to stop this.
What is where is Jaja when she's being kicked?
They have schedules, don't you remember?
Oh yeah.
That's how
Okay, he walks in and
how
finds
screwed
them.
up Eugene is. Like regardless of what is going on in another family member's life, you have a schedule you have to stick to. You have study time, you have
he
TV
hears
time.
screaming in the
family-
other room, and he just continues
Yo.
reading.
I think that's when Beatrice decides to poison her husband when Papa Eugene dies. Guys, I did not see that coming at all.
They just came out of left field.
No.
Like I wanted something bad to happen to Papa Eugene.
Oh my God,
I
I wanted
just
to
did not
drop
know
dead
what.
from the
Me
start.
too, but that was a plot twist I did not see coming. Because first of all, the entire book, I used to think Mama was weak.
She was.
I used to think, boy, my dear.
I got that to the last second.
I know. And then she just like slides in and does, I won't say a heroic thing. It's terrible.
It's heroic. She killed Eugene. It's heroic in my books.
So when she does, and then we see another plot twist entirely. But I can't say it was very, very shocking considering we've seen what Jaja has been morphing since
Yeah.
the book began.
Yes.
And I think it's a way for him to atone for not standing up. Standing up for.
I really wish we
Father.
got this book, like another POV, but just from Jaja. Because
I think it will
I
be very
believe-
short. He does not care.
no, I
That
don't
boy
think he
does not
cares, but
care.
I would like to see what made him stop taking communion. What made him stop taking communion that day? And then what were his feelings when he went to Auntie Fioma's house? To the point where I want to see what was going through his mind when he decided, I
I
know
will
my
take the
mother has
blame.
killed my father and I will take the blame.
No,
for
I
this."
think
Also,
from-
what
right from
happened
the
in jail,
start-
man?
Oh, it
What
broke
happened?
him.
In jail.
Yo.
Oh, 3 years in jail, and maybe at that time, because there's civil unrest. I'm sure it must be horrible being in jail because so many people are being put behind,
Yeah.
being tortured. Because you're just with the other guys who are political prisoners or something. I'm sure a lot of bad things happened.
Do you know the
So
worst
many
thing
bad-
about this
very
book?
dark days.
I really think Jaja died. Like, not physically. I think parts of him
His
kept
soul.
dying throughout the book.
He
And
was
when
in
he
like a
finally,
shell of himself.
like to the point where when he went to jail. You remember when Kambili and Mama went to visit him, and he couldn't even look into like any of their eyes.
I know.
That man was gone.
It's very sad. Like Jaja did not have a childhood. He did not have like teenage years. He had nothing.
And now he's
The only
adult.
time he lived was when he was dreaming the purple hibiscus at Auntie
Yeah.
Fioma's house.
But
I
yeah,
felt
he's,
bad
he's
for
still
him.
young. He can pick himself up and
From what?
try something else. Because it's like he's still
Trauma and vibes.
maybe he's 20 or 21 or something.
You know,
And he-
like
he
he even
stays for
stopped
3 years.
trauma bonding with his sister. So it's like he just shelled into himself.
Yeah, I think Jaja is.
He was becoming the man his father never was.
Do you know this book?
Or maybe he comes
Papa
and turns out to be
Eugene?
his father.
Papa Eugene dying was one part of the book that I think gave me a bit of joy.
Closure.
But everything else was just
Chaos.
because even when okay, he dies, Jaja goes to jail, right, for 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even when the book ends, we're not even sure if he's going. There's like a glimmer of hope, but
And they
you
say
know,
he's being
plot
released the
twist.
next
Yeah,
week.
they're saying it will be released.
Yeah.
He will be released the next week, and then we see, because this man might be dead, but the things he did are very far-reaching. Mama is depressed. You know, we see like even after he dies, I think she used to have like Stockholm syndrome or something.
Yes.
That woman never recovered.
And you see,
You know?
after the reason why Jaja is released is because activist groups are saying they're investigating,
Yeah.
in the sense that they're saying the government killed Eugene.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
So that's the reason why even Jaja is released, is because they cannot have been the family. He was a good man.
He was
really
yes.
thought.
He was a
Oh
good
my God!
because
Really put up
outside
a really like
to them
well
he was
put facade.
to them he was very noble. So it's like there's no way Jaja did it. There's no way it must have been the government, which in some
very
ways
sad.
But the mom stayed 1 year too long.
Yeah, but I think she that family just needed like a lot of healing, because
Also, I think there's a time she was asked why doesn't she leave him.
Oh
As
yeah,
she
by
says,
auntie.
he had many options, because remember at the beginning they were saying that he was being told to get
get
another
married,
wife,
yeah.
or whatever.
Wealthy man
But
should
it's
not
like,
have to keep.
yeah, it's like, no, he stayed with me, so I
that
owe him.
Where
woman
would I
had the
go?
worst Stockholm syndrome, because
The what?
she felt like Eugene loving her was a favor, you know.
I know, sucks.
I just
But we're
felt
not
sad,
told
man.
anything about her, in the sense that where she
Her father was a colonialist too.
so I'm sure she saw her father in Eugene,
Yeah.
because they say Eugene loved the father-in-law like crazy. It's like, to him that
That was the father.
That was
him. He was
the
he was the one
benchmark.
who knew everything.
Eugene is just a bag of red flags.
I know. I don't know why they were not seeing. But you know something we noticed even in the books that we've covered before? Men love these toxic people. Literally speaking, like from the point of literature. It's always like the strongest, the one who fights the most.
Yes.
And he was very disciplined.
most
One thing you
chaotic
can say
person.
about him, he was disciplined.
Oh, he
He was
was.
very disciplined.
He
in
was
the sense
he
that-
was shrewd even in business.
Yeah. He knew how to keep his things in order, in that you're running a newspaper thing, you have a
A
company,
company.
Going to churches.
you're doing all these things.
Still a horrible man.
You're still
The rat
you,
has
but you have
redeeming
discipline.
quality.
I refuse to redeem him.
Discipline is a you're disciplined authoritarian.
Yeah.
Imagine if he
Absolutely
puts that
not.
discipline into something more useful.
If you stop just beating his people.
Yeah,
I
if
think
he stops-
something
if he put that
we
discipline-
see.
because that's the thing I was asking. If he puts the good qualities he has, or the noble ones, to more useful things, as opposed to Madume. Madume had, there's nothing he could put into anything that would make it even successful. Let's say Eugene put the discipline he puts in making sure that the freedom and democracy, he puts it in home. You know, it's for his kids to thrive in everything that they want to do.
Maybe
They would
to
actually be
To
on
him,
top.
success was just academic excellence, because
No,
he
I
used
think
to tell
success.
Kambili
No, I think success to him was
perfection.
what people see. It's not what you
Yeah,
have.
what you have,
It's
yeah.
what people see. So even when Kambili gets beaten because she's number 2 instead of number 1, it's not like you performed well. It's like, how dare you?
Yes.
How
I
dare
think
you
that
fail?
was
And
when
he
I
used
was
to
like,
say,
people
to whom
will
much
say-
is given, much is expected.
Yeah.
What much is given?
She's given
Abuse,
a-
trauma.
she, he has the story of, I was not
Oh no.
accorded these things when I was young. I was not given these things, and I'm doing everything to give you everything that I never had.
No.
Oh, that story is
And,
the worst.
and it's sort of like guilt tripping you
Submission.
into like, now I have to do what they say. If I don't, I'm a failure, because
Father does not approve.
another child would have gotten this but back then, maybe if they were bold, they said adopt another kid and,
Hey, Bana.
and do that.
Yo.
But anyway, it's a very interesting
Read.
story, and the feeling you would ask, what's the feeling that you get from
The book.
the book? I think it's a sadness.
Anger.
I mean, it's actually mad.
Yo,
Anger,
livid,
blinding anger.
livid.
You know, it's like every time I would try to this book. Every time you think like Zinashuka, like you're pacifying yourself, he does something. You know,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I think maybe for me, I'm really angry because my father was never. You know, never. I have a very nice image of what fatherhood is supposed to be. So I'm
And that man is
imagining
not-
So you're comparing them as like
this kid suffered. You know,
they suffered.
it's not like we got away with everything. It's not like we were
There are
pampered.
boundaries, but
It was not abuse.
Do not tyrants.
Mm.
You.
I think I get that, and I think what like when you say anger, it's it is, but sort of understanding that it's common.
Mm.
It's not
Yeah.
unique in the sense that
That's very sad.
it's not unique in the sense that this is a one in 500
It's something that
households,
happens in every
especially
household.
just generally once if you grow up and you start seeing things around different households, you see, oh, this happens way more often, even if it's not in like what Eugene is doing. It could be in other aspects or another sense, the way that it's controlled,
Yeah.
where you hear people, it's like, oh, I'm not allowed to, somebody who's maybe 30 plus, even 40, it's like
I need to ask my father.
or there's this distance that's there
Yes.
because of you're 40 years old, even because your father did not approve of something, now
You feel bad.
you feel awful for the rest of your life. And it's not a decision of if you could say your father did not approve you killing somebody in cold blood, of course no, your father's right. Listen to your father, but
Yeah.
it's like your father did not approve that you
Of your
went,
childhood.
or even the way you have people switch between religions, denominations, people switch careers. You say my father disowned me because I dropped out of med school,
Yeah.
right? It's like, okay, that's a bit too
Yeah,
far.
it's-
Say he
yeah.
was disappointed,
He had
but
something.
but disowning.
I think it's sad that the book is 21 years old and the themes are still very relevant today.
Yes.
Because I think it's a thing. Africans, religion,
Money,
family,
yeah.
that's like a thing that we see. And I think one thing I don't like, but it works for Chimamanda, is she's very real about the way she writes her books. She won't give you a redemption if there's no redemption happening. I remember in like Half of a Yellow Sun, when Kainene went missing, we will never know what happened to that girl. And even in this book, there's no like defining end, like you say, this is a happy ending.
Jaja got
Yes.
a job.
Yeah, because
did
that's
not
not
get
the
a
way
job.
things work.
We don't even know whether they went to college.
We don't know
know
anything
nothing.
because that's the thing. Like she writes the way life is, you know. It's not like this is not. It's
like
it's
some-
fiction.
It's like
but
gossiping with someone.
yes,
It can only
and
go
then
too far.
what? Yeah, I love that book. I think I would
Really
read it
do.
again. I read it after a while. It's
And
just
the anger
one
is
of
still
those-
there.
It
Anger
really
is still
is.
fresh.
Yeah. Thank you guys. This was very awesome.
It was.
Okay. Thank you for joining us for this episode. We hope to catch you on the next one. We haven't revealed what book we'll be reading yet, but just stay tuned and then we'll find out. A major shout out to Galaxarium Archive for hosting us. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Cool.